No, there's actually no confusion. I have been thinking about this for a while because if you have, in my YouTube videos talking about giving Dharma talks, there was actually these parts about sharing about how speech can actually cause certain kind of consequences because speech comes from your mind, and from your mind it can conjure into action and speech and whatever else that it can create. So it does have some karmic retribution. So that's why I just look at what's happening around in social media platforms, and then I do see that there are certain kind of behaviors that are not really conducive. So that's why I decided that I'll be leaving X, but I will continue with my Dharma talks in my YouTube channels.
Well, what type of behaviors are you talking about? Because I'm interested in hearing about those. And I'm you want to see if they're the same thing that I'm seeing.
Okay, for those that okay, the main thing about X is that you get monetization at first, by getting engagements and a lot of um, activities. Some may say it as a content, right? For really big accounts, it's about content. And then for those that are actually trying to build their um, existence, I would say, so there is the need to engage with those bigger accounts that has already haven't gotten their content and a lot of viewership, right? So I do see a lot of people who may intentionally conjure um, remarks, okay, statements that are controversial, that are intentionally used to provoke some
Yes.
kind of attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That happens a
So
lot.
most of most of these statements are actually false statements. And some of these statements do not even have substance. It's like a lot of just using
Engagement farming.
very negative words just to get people angry or just to get people like you know all those the F words, all the four-letter words, all the really derogatory statements that should not even be used on humans, right? So
Hmm.
it is. I don't claim myself as holy because I do use expletives sometimes when I'm really agitated, but in the intentional use of this kind of statements is, in one way, it is already creating the ball rolling for that karma, the karmic situations, right? You
It's not
planted the
doing it for
seed
you
of
if you don't engage in it. It's only doing it for those other individuals.
it may be doing it for other individuals, which is actually why I do not want to get involved because I do get this kind of statements myself. Okay, when I say something, then there are those that I there was actually some remarks like stupid, just
Hmm.
one word like this, and then one question mark is like, why you don't see the statement, right? You're just farming for somebody to respond to you. You expect me to respond to you so that you get your viewership and things like that. So this kind of things, if I've always referred back to what the Master Ching Kung's talks have said. For somebody who understood the karma, you won't even light a cigarette. Okay? So similarly, when you understand the karma, you won't even provoke or cause provocation of another to have this kind of reaction to you. Because um, looking back at it, if we look at the water experiment, I'm not sure whether you've heard of this water experiment by the late Dr. Masaru Emoto. Have you?
I'm not familiar with
No?
it. Can you share?
Okay, the water experiment done by Dr. Masaru Emoto was actually he took water from different sources, okay, from the lake, from the sea, from pipe water, the water that we drink and everything. And what he did was he put them into little containers, and these little containers, then he labeled them, okay. He just stick labels on them. He stick labels like love. He stick labels like hate, beautiful, and some positive words and some are negative words. So when he put those in positive words, what happened was when after the water was placed in this something like I'll refer it as an incubation period, maybe like for a period of time, and then he crystallized this water, right? And then he looked at the molecule of this crystallized water under the microscope. So those that are actually being labeled with positive messages, their their formation, okay, of their molecules were beautiful. Okay, it will look like those snowflakes, like your background screen that I'm looking at here, right? You see those nice stars. So when it was a beautiful message, it crystallized into something that is really beautiful, like the snowflakes that we draw when we were little, really beautiful we found. But when it was those negative words, right, it became distorted. It was like there was no specific form, and it was all jaggy, a lot of spikes, and it was in some points it looked hideous. Okay, so even water can store memory, right, for those positive and also the negative words that have just been labeled on them. So some of us may actually claim that water is inanimate. They are not human, so they are incapable of having reactions like this. But this experiment itself is actually proving to us that water is able to store memory. And our human body, being like more than 70% are actually made of liquid, right? We have blood, we have urine, whatever impurities that we have. So these things are actually generating itself within our body. So if, for example, I see something bad, okay, something not nice, and it goes into my reception, okay, from my eyes, I read this message, it goes through me, and then if I am not skilled, okay, if I'm not a skilled person, I do not filter it and stop it right at this visual barrier. Okay,
Mm,
I processed it, and these things actually go into my body, through the blood and everything. It
yeah.
circulates inside my entire body. So it is not healthy, obviously. That's why there are people who actually go for this positive self-talk kind of thing, right? Sometimes when we hear people saying that they get a lot of success with the positive self-talks and things like this. So this is actually our message carrying through ourselves into our very entire system, right? How people actually motivate themselves, like those motivation gurus. How do you go around, telling somebody that, oh, I will be able to do this, right? You see some of those sales kind of that practices every morning. They go, I can do it, I can do it,
Like
that
Tony
kind of
Tony
thing.
Robbins or something
So
like that.
yes, yes, something like this. So they get all these positive talks that are going into their system, right? Whether it works fast or it works slow, it doesn't matter because these messages are already transmitted into the body. So every single cell that is in the body is working towards the action to make this realization. Okay, so back to the topic, why is it that I would like to leave? Because it I'm seeing all these negative words, all this negative stuff going on, right? I do not have the intention to trigger, but if somebody is actually farming this, okay, farming the impressions by responding to me using some negative words that actually came up from himself or herself, so this is potentially, if this is actually in one of those, in X you have um this is hidden, right? Show posts that are hidden. So probably this post is hidden. So I might not see it unless I click on it. But this
Mm,
person, he actually wrote this stuff. So right from the inside, whatever the motive may be, right? The fact that he wrote it, that means within himself, he already started this motion.
yeah.
Okay, it has to come from the thought, and thoughts are only from within us. So it already started, it triggered. So what will happen is that this person may look like outwardly, yeah, successful, you get a lot of engagement, you get a lot of things, you can even get monetized on X and things like this, but it is slowly building the toxin inside the body, right? So which is why I just decided that I'm going to stop any form of damage. At least on my part, this is what I can do. So I'm going to stop it as there, right? I can be saying a lot of positive things, but if this negativity is actually coming from within them and they put it out this way, I'm reading it, my other followers are reading it, so it will snowball, right? Probably there are people who are not able to filter, so it will cause them negativity as well, right? If you were to look at some studies of the social media use, you will see that there's a lot of times when, some will say that if you go to Meta or you go to IG, then you get all this um, feel good thing, the endorphins and everything, because you get to see puppies and babies and kittens, and so they feel good, and then but they do fall into depression. But on X itself, this is like you just skip all the nice stuff. You just drop completely directly into direct contact with those words that may cause some subconscious kind of effect on the body. Okay, after you process those words inside your mind. So it is actually not really a conducive thing for me, right?
Okay. Yeah, I think that that makes a lot of sense. It's
Mhm,
yeah, it's a little bit different for me because I work with a bit about my background since I guess we haven't
mhm,
introduced ourselves. I work in tech and I work at least for the last 8 years I've been working at different streaming platforms, building out streaming platforms. Um,
mhm,
and I deal with a lot of creators. So a lot of these
mhm,
different talks that I'm doing with to try to learn about spirituality, to learn about kind of the uh, samsara, or in I know you don't like it, but I try to use terms that other people can understand or relate to, even though it may not be entirely accurate, like the matrix or simulation, uh,
mhm,
about aliens and all of these different things. I try to connect with a lot of people in my network since I work with a lot of creators. They're some of them small, some of them very big, some of them like are the largest in the world, and I think working with a lot of these creators, you learn to develop a thick skin. Uh, a lot of them are good people, but a lot of them are also playing this game, and they deal with everything that you're dealing with. And inadvertently, I also
yeah,
deal with that as well. They deal with a lot of hate in the comments, a lot of these different things. Eventually, and they talk about how sometimes it gets to them. I see it as well. I've worked with some not good creators, like not good people as well, that would try to set up like a call like this to frame you or to sabotage you to try to farm engagement. And
mm.
like, yeah,
Well,
it's just not
branding
good. Yeah.
and yeah, branding is different. Okay, if let's say I'm looking at this at solely as a branding perspective with the objective of some monetary gains or some getting some kind of making myself famous and then earning from it as an ambassador for some brands and things like this, that is different. That one is like you really look into you just ignore, because I was from a branding background for the past 20 over years. So we do meet with, companies do have all these night remarks going on to them. And then
Hmm.
the best thing is that we just, we don't care about what this negativity is, as long as our product is going good and then the things that we're doing are actually fine. But for what I'm doing over here is not about branding, right? Because if I have always maintained my Dharma talks, for example, I don't care if it is only reaching one person or it's going to reach a million people. I don't care, because for Dharma talks itself, I am very clear right from the start that only people who have the right karmic situation, that means their karma is right, their time is right, okay, then they will be able to be driven to accept the talks that I have been giving. Otherwise, if you were to put somebody to with a link to my channels for the Dharma talks, they won't be able to accept whatever I'm saying. There is no reception because the time is not right. The karma is not ripe yet. Okay, so you can be telling them a lot and a lot, but they are just not able to receive it yet. So in out of this, so this is actually out from my professional front, right? Because this one is just solely for the Dharma, right? Many people use a lot of terms like yourself, you use samsara, right? Samsara is actually a right term for our mundane world, okay? And Dharma talks like you said is it a morality kind of talk, that kind of studies. Dharma is not just about morality because morality you're talking about building the positivity that is in there. But for Dharma talks, it is actually looking at beyond just the righteous things to do, and it is looking at something that which we will say as a metaphysics. Okay, in the past when Master Ching Kong, I always refer to him because I listened to his talks and he was the one who introduced a lot of things through his talks, right? So Master Ching Kong he was not a believer last time. He was not even thinking of becoming a monk. So he went to the university and he met with the teacher who was actually teaching metaphysics in school in the university. So he had known that, okay, Buddhism is not a religion. So Buddhism is actually metaphysics, the highest level, right? So during for the course curriculum itself, there are a lot of philosophies, a lot of things about this, and then the last one that is in the last semester of the last year is about Buddhism as the highest learning of metaphysics. Okay, so in terms of how people call it, actually it doesn't matter, right? But in terms of Dharma talks, it is not just about teaching people to be respectful, teaching people to be nice and things like this. It is more than that. Okay, so yes, you can use whatever terms if let's say you think that this term is more relatable to some audience, right? Because to them, this is as far as their understanding is. It is, sorry, the phone keep ringing. Okay, so this is actually something that is to them. This is as much as they know. So this term may relate to them. Okay, but if you were to really have the time and then you delve deeper in it, then you will see that there's a lot of distinction between the terms. And these terms are also only created just for the convenience of us as humans. You know, because eventually, if you look at the Diamond Sutra, at the end of the day, the end of the sutra itself, the Buddha himself declared, I didn't say anything. Okay, I did not say anything. So all these things are actually just the plain truth. It is the universal truth. So he did not preach anything, right? All the sutras, all the 84,000 kinds of methodology, I will call it, right? It can be Christianity, it can be Islam, it can be any form at all, Hinduism, Brahmanism, anything, right? We always in Mandarin we say 八万四千法门, okay, 84,000, I will call it methods. Okay, whichever method, if let's say you truly concentrate on it, right, with your total focus in it, you can actually achieve Buddhahood. It's not necessarily that you must be a Buddhist to achieve Buddhahood, because it is fundamentally Buddhism is a teaching, is education, it's not a religion.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that. I've been raised Buddhist, but lightly Buddhist, not super. I would say practicing and trying to understand it until maybe to spend some years learning a bit of it, and then more recently learning a lot more. I'm also learning a lot about the all of the other religions and in my kind of time to try to understand this existence that we're living in. And like you mentioned, they all say the same thing. They like
Mm.
whatever Buddha is saying is I believe it to be the truth, but I also believe a lot of the other religions what they're saying is the truth because they have a lot of similarities.
They are, actually, they are. Actually, every single religion, the 84,000 methods there are, they are all the truth. It's just that, after a while, there can be human interpretations
Yes.
that. Yeah, that's why we are not perfect. We have to remember we are not perfect. They send us this doctrine, okay? So they come down to existence, okay? Sometimes they manifest as humans, they come down to this existence, they spread these teachings to us, all right? But we humans, we are the ignorant ones, and then we interpret it based on our low understanding of what the universal truth is, right?
And then our
So,
languages are also developed at different levels, so some can explain it better,
yeah,
some may not. Some may not have as many
mhm.
characters, some may have more.
Exactly, exactly. Like in the Buddhist society, we have troubles trying to translate, right? Because like Buddhism is translated from Sanskrit or Pali language,
Mm.
whatever the script was, right? And then when you translate it to Mandarin, they have an entire congregation with language experts who are also practitioners. Okay, so the monks are actually doing the translation, and then they cross-check with each other to make sure that they don't put in their interpretations in it. So at the same time, when we try to use this and then translate into English, we do find that there are words that is, you can't find an English equivalent.
Yep.
So the unless you actually practice it, okay, you really get hands-on with it, then you can understand it even if there's no words to describe it.
Yeah, how I try to explain it to people that in a way that they can understand, I would say there's one universal like truth and there's one universal kind of way that you should be conducting yourself, but it's being interpreted by multiple different people in multiple different languages throughout different time periods, and then some turns into philosophy, some turns into religion, and
Mm.
all of them are pointing to the same thing. It's kind of like there's a guidebook, but it's just written by different authors. They're all trying to tell you
Or
how you should live in this existence, and they're all saying the same thing, but it's just different authors with different languages and different time periods have translated their perception of the guidebook in a different way.
yes, and it is like in some folklore, right? Like the Journey to the West. Have you
Yep.
watched the Journey to the West before? Okay, so you see Sun Wukong actually can change into, how many changes there are. 36 changes, 72 changes, and then some lesser, you know, deities they can change to 18 changes and things like this. Okay, what do these changes mean, right? These changes are actually their manifestation based on the level of what we can accept. Okay, like for example, if you look at Buddhism, right? In Buddhism, there is Buddha, obviously, right? Then there are also bodhisattvas, right? Bodhisattvas, the popular ones are like the Avalokitesvara, the Guan Pusa,
Hmm.
right? And then there's also the Dashiksta Pusa, and then there's also the all the Manjushri, and then the different kinds of bodhisattvas out there. Okay, but if we were to look at, okay, I'll make it very simple. We just look at our present um, known Buddha, okay, the Gautama Buddha. Okay, his story is known worldwide, as in he was a prince, and then after that he, let go of his princely life in the palace, and then how he went into ascetic practice, and then he followed the teachings of so many teachers, and then one day he just decided to, he was at that time he was already thin to the bones. You can actually see his ribcage and everything, and then Sujata came and offered him a bowl of uh, milk rice, and then he took it, and then after that, it's like, miraculously he seemed to be enlightened, right? That was the story that was generally known. But if this one is a very general story, but before that, okay, if we look at the way that it was shown in the Infinite Lifetime Sutra, okay, 无量寿经. So in this Infinite Lifetime Sutra, you will see that before that he was in one of the heavenly worlds. Okay, he was waiting because all the Buddhas, after a while, people just couldn't accept the teachings anymore. So they will be in other places, the Buddhas will be in other places sharing the teachings because our universe is not the only universe, right? Our world is not the only world there is. So they will be all over the place. They can go to other world systems, they can be in other universe. So they are teaching at other places. So in our particular world, okay, world system, he was in one of the heavenly worlds, and then he was just sitting there, and there are other bodhisattvas who approach him and say that, dear Buddha, it is time for the people in this world as in our earthlings, okay? So there are people whose time is ripe, who's able to accept the teachings. And being the Buddha, he is the enlightened one, he can see everything, right? So he thought that, oh, right, this is the right time, so I'm going to choose the right kind of image for myself to come down so that people can accept the teachings. Okay, so he picked to become a prince. All right, because being a prince, you get the attention of everyone. And then the moment a prince who is either fated, okay, when he was born, there were some ascetics over there in this kingdom, working under the king. They actually make interpretations he's either going to be the king of the world, okay, be able to expand the kingdom until it encompasses the entire world to become that one world religion, or he becomes the Buddha,
Mhm.
right? So three of them actually says that he's either one of the two, but there was one last one who says that he can only be one, he can only be the Buddha, right? So he is able to actually, you know, take he understood that at that time, right, people will believe in ascetics, all right? At that time, there are a lot of people who are practicing meditation, okay, Brahmanism. They're practicing meditation. They can go into deep states of meditation, of concentration in the jhanas, right? So when when he's able to see that, oh, this group of people are actually right, then he agrees to come down. He came down as a prince. He came down after a while. He has all the luxuries in the world. People can actually see that he has all the luxuries in the world, but he chose to give up. Okay, after he gave up, he still managed to live to the ripe old age of 80, and most of the time, for 9 years of the time, he was teaching. Yeah, he was not like, he does not face things like, our modern society now. You don't work, and then after that you got no money, and then you get into trouble. You have no food to eat and things like this, right? He actually, like, proved to us that there is a different way of life, right? There is also a different understanding of what life is. And then this front part, before he chose to become the prince and came down to us, you can't see it in a Theravada Buddhism text, right? Because Theravada Buddhism is up until something which we call the Pacheka Buddha. Okay, Pacheka Buddha is self-made Buddha. That means they don't follow any teachers, right? They just sit in meditation and then they understood it themselves. That will be after all our, in another 2,300 years, perhaps, right? When the Buddha Dharma is gone, then there will be Pachika Buddhas coming up, right? Because the teachings will be entirely gone from the face of our earth itself. Right? And then there are also the arhants, those that are able to sit in jhana and to be able to open up their spheres of understanding to be enlightened to a certain degree, right? Because in meditation itself, when you're able to get into jhanas, it does not necessarily mean that you will become enlightened as a sainthood. Okay, sainthood, there are also four. One is the Sotapanna, the first stage, Sakadagami, second stage, Anagami, and also Arhat, right? That time, there are people who are capable of that. There are a lot of people, the Brahmins teaching meditation, but they do not tell you that going beyond, you can actually gain this kind of enlightenment. Going beyond, you can attain the sainthood, right? So this is how he has been able to see that there are people whose destiny is right, the fate is right, whatever you call it, the karmic consequences, the karmic situations are also right. So they will be able to receive his teachings, right? So similarly, when we look at all the other teachings, all right, all the other religions out there, all these teachings will cater to the needs of different people, to those that are, like for example, Christianity, right? The origin was only about Jesus, about Moses coming down, right? All these things. And then these people, they are capable of receiving these teachings, right? And for those who are Islam, they are capable of receiving the teachings of that one, right? That's why you see a lot of people, they're switching religion. There is no right or wrong to this, okay? But they choose the religion based on their understanding, their needs at that moment, right? So there is, if they actually, really go deep into it and then to transcend, get out of all the human interpretations, they can become enlightened, right? There's no restriction. They can become enlightened because all these are taught to us in good faith by those that we, in Buddhist terms, we identify as the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. There is no distinction,
I have some
right?
questions.
Everybody.
Yeah, so you mentioned sainthood, so like Buddha, becoming a Buddha, reaching sainthood. Based off of my understanding of looking into the religions, especially like Buddhism, sainthood still requires that you exist within samsara, right? If you refer to saint as
Yes,
like as some type of being that it's still within samsara, but from also my understanding of reaching nirvana and breaking samsara, you are no longer in the cycle. You shouldn't be anywhere. You shouldn't be a part of
yes, you,
anything.
yeah.
So how are
Okay,
you
for
still a
that part,
part of this and not a part of this? How does that work from your
okay,
understanding?
okay, let me give you an overview of samsara. Okay, in samsara there are actually like 10 realms. Okay, 10 realms of existence. The six realms that we are always circling in. Okay, there are six realms that within this 10 that we are circling in. The first, of course, our human realm. Okay, then there's animals, there is ghost, there is hell, up there is asuras, and there is heaven. Okay, these
Hmm.
six. So a lot of times we are just going round in circles, right? For example, if I do not have any affiliations or any knowledge about Buddhism, okay, I don't have a root of practice. I do good, and I, adhere to what karma situations, okay, all my deeds correlate with good karma that will allow me to be human, then I become human. All right. But if there are deeds that I do wrong, like for example, very often we see people with greed and attachment in the Buddhist text. Greed and attachment, it means that you will actually be more associated to the ghost realm. So I will say that this is not a kind of a reward or punishment system. Okay, it is exactly just what karma is. You plant the seed, so you reap the fruit. Okay, you
Yeah.
following me so far?
Yeah, yeah, no,
Okay,
I
so
understand.
let's, yeah. So if I plant the seed of ghost existence, so naturally, upon extinguishing my this lifetime, I will see the blossoming of this seed, and so I go into the ghost realm. All right. If let's say I plant the seed,
I
like
see it a different way,
one
but
of
I think we're saying the same thing. The way I see it is like the system samsara requires you, because of greed and all of this stuff requires that you learn how to control the greed, and then you get sent there. But you're I think we're the way that you're saying it also makes sense. It's kind of, yeah,
yeah, almost
it's
the
two
same,
different ways of
right?
seeing the same outcome, but I think they both make sense and they both can, yeah,
Yeah,
the ideas can both coexist.
yes. So yeah, it is like okay. So after you have like planted this seed, and then this is where your fruit blossoms, right? So if we were to transcend, right, through meditation practices, you transcend to become one of the saints, okay, the 4 stages of sainthood. So in when you go to um, Sotapanna, the first stage,
Well,
and
can you
Sakadagami, the
define a
second stage.
saint? Can you define saint? Do you mean by Buddha, or do you mean like what
No,
is your
generally. Okay. Um, Sainthood means somebody who actually has an understanding, somebody who knows that it is more than, I will say, you won't have that kind of attachment to this world. Okay. Or like now a lot of people have attachment to money, right? As a saint, you will understand that actually how much you earn, okay, or how your body is and everything is actually very karmic related. Okay, same thing, everything karma. So how do you get money? How do you build wealth? In worldly terms, if you are not a saint, you're a very normal person, right? You will think that I study hard, I work hard, and then this is the flourish of my result, I get money, right? This is the logic, right? Correct? Okay, so when we look at what karma is, okay, based on karma, if you're a saint based on karma, you understand that if you plant the seeds of wealth, which is not necessarily, like your efforts and everything is like maybe like 30% of the efforts, but the art of giving, the very act of giving, you give donations, you give to charity, okay, that is actually planting the seed of karma towards wealth. Okay, money by itself is just a tool.
yeah?
You don't, before the creation of money, right? Before the creation of money, there is the barter system,
Yep.
right? But barter system, even before the barter system itself, there is also the self economy, right? People hunt, they plant their own stuff. Why is it that some people, when they plant something, it is really good, and then they go hunting, they always reap abundance. But there are some people who may be hunting the entire day, but they don't reap anything, or they plant anything, the crops just wilt and die, right? So why is it that there can be such differences? It is all actually due to karma. Okay, your karmic is right, so you are being put into that place where the soil itself is fertile. Okay, that place has abundance of whatever produce, and then you actually reap it. And this seed was actually planted in your previous life. Okay, but when you're looking at something like the person who do anything at all, but it still doesn't reap, past life he didn't put in that seed for the prosperity. Okay, he is more of a taker than a giver. So money is only able to be useful if it is being used,
Is that only relevant to
right?
money?
So
Can you give things not related to money, like time?
give things not related, time is actually a concept, right? If you transcend into the beyond the cycles of the samsara, time and space are just concept.
No, I mean
You
like
can
in this
transcend.
life, if you're giving money and that's helping you, let's say, work towards prosperity, what if you're giving time to help
Oh,
others?
okay.
If you don't have money to help others, let's say. You don't have
Okay,
money to
when
give.
yeah, you give time to help others, anytime you are in need of help, you will see there are a lot of people coming to help you,
Mm,
right? If you are in the act of not harming other people, there may be other people who are trying to harm you, but they won't succeed, right?
okay.
Because you planted the seed of not harming other people, right? If you were to talk about things like longevity, right? A lot of people, we wanted to have long lives, okay? So how do you plant the seed of longevity? You just don't harm other beings, right? You don't go around like, you see one mosquito, you think that, oh, that life is just like, how many months will a mosquito live anyway? So you just like the mosquito is dead. But if let's say the mosquito is only maybe like, how long do mosquitoes live? I don't know. Okay,
I'm
so
not
let's
sure.
say this. I can't remember. So if this being, this insect, for example, has a lifespan of like 3 months, but it was just in its first month, and then you cut short the other 2 months, you just let it dead at the first month, there's still 2 months, right? So these 2 months are what you stripped off this life, okay? It
Yep.
is supposed to be 3 months, but you strip off the 2 months. That means you will still need to pay for the 2 months that is gone.
Hmm.
But how is it counted in human life? That is a different kind of calculation altogether. To us, like humans, because now we know dog's life and human life, even though we are staying in the same room, right? One year in a dog's life and ours are totally different. 1 year human years, dog's life maybe 5 6 years, right? So same insect, right? Same for any beings, whether the heavenly beings or those beings and in the lower realms of existence. In ghost world, for example, um, like Chinese have a prayers like the Qingming, right? They just go there once a year to give things, and then like every 15th or the first of the lunar month, and then there are prayers and things like this. They they are not living in the same time zones like us, okay? So all these things will be accounted for, but humans, like, our technology now are not able to do that kind of calculations. We are not sophisticated to that yet. So it will be something that is going to be beyond our understanding, right? When it comes to karmic calculations, because like now a lot of people, they think that, oh, I wish that karma comes soon. Karma is coming, right? But whether we identify it or not is a different story, because our understanding of karma is so new. We just is beyond our understanding. You can get all the supercomputers, even like, mm, anybody can just get many servers, a lot of computers to do the computing, but they won't be able to calculate how karma works. Okay? Yeah.
Yeah, Dad, I understand this aspect. I'm still trying to understand about Buddha and
The
like
going
saint.
beyond.
Yeah, how does that work? Because from my understanding is you break samsara, you're gone. You're gone
It's
forever.
actually not exactly gone. Yeah. So just now I was explaining about the samsara, the six
Hmm.
realms of existence, and then there's also this four realms of existence. This four realms of existence is where like the formless realm, okay, the formless realm and a few realms after that. These are when your meditation is really um, good, right? You actually are able to when your meditation is already to a certain stage, you're really um,
You can travel to these
gone
four
into the,
realms.
sorry.
Can you travel to the four realms through meditation? Which realms are you able to travel to through meditation? Because you have people talking about through meditation they're able to travel to other realms. You also have people saying that through taking drugs they're able to travel through to other
Those
realms.
Yeah, taking drugs is hallucination. They're not traveling anywhere, unfortunately.
They're saying
Okay,
that I
so
think
when
like
you're
I think is it DMT or psilocybin mushrooms? They're able to see some type of entities, and they all say the same thing.
okay, when they say that they see the same things, actually, it will be more related to the subconscious. All right, all of us, I'm sure, all of us have watched some horror movie before in life. Okay, whether we are a fan or not, whether we like to watch Exorcist or not, whether we like to watch horror movies with ghosts and ghouls and stuff, each of us have already been exposed to some kind of movies or something like this. So if you're traveling, I put in quotes, your traveling is associated to the use of drugs of any kind at all that will cause hallucinations. You don't see things. You are only seeing what is conjured by your mind that is excited by the drugs effect. But if you are sitting in meditation, you don't really, after you have gone into some really serious focus. Okay, meditation is the way to sharpen your focus, right? If you sharpen your focus, even in broad daylight, you don't need to travel. You will still be able to see. Because who says you need to travel? Right now, actually, in front of you and in front of me, there can be other beings, but our eyes are not seeing it because our minds are not focused, not tuned to that, right? It's like a radio frequency. The more you sit, the clearer your frequency will be. Your aerial will be so much stronger. So all these frequencies that are coming in, you will be able to see. Like last time when I had my first meditation master, he was in Burma. Okay, so in his meditation, someone was testing him. Right, he's a monk, so someone was testing him. Someone who has an entity which we will identify as a ghost. Okay, they brought the entity together to meet him, and he being, his meditation was strong, and then his antenna is very clear. So what he experienced was he was able to see, and then this being need not even be in a different to he didn't even need to go into the dimension, the ghost dimension of this person is like right here in this room with all of us, right? And this being manifests himself behind the curtain. Okay, the shape of a face of a full human, right behind the curtain. That was actually for this the disciple was actually testing on whether his meditation was up to that level, because after a while, when you have already, you have understanding through meditation, you will find that, oh, all beings are actually the same. All are subjected to karma. That's why it's just a different kind of existence, right? You're wearing this or you're wearing that clothes, right? So there's no reason to be afraid. All right, so this one is okay. Back to our thing, because I think we're kind of like running to 10:24 now. So transcending beyond, there is the meditation of where it is only form, and there is the formless existence. Okay, formless existence is in such that there is no form, there is no physical manifestation. Okay, just the spiritual side, the spirit of it. Okay, and spirit itself is actually, you can equivalent, is like your electricity. Okay, that electricity. So electricity, if let's say we transfer the electricity to an electrical devices, right? Then the electrical devices is like for example, like now I'm talking to you. If let's say my charger is plugged on to the phone, right? So the phone lights out and the phone is functioning and things like this. It has a function, but the electricity is taking the form of the phone right now, right? If let's say I turn on my rice cooker, the electricity becomes, just manifest as energy in the rice cooker. So if I turn it off, the rice cooker electricity, is the electricity still there? There's still electricity in the circuit, right? But it just doesn't manifest. So when we talk about spirits, it is exactly just like that. It is a form of energy. So when we are saying about within this cycle of existence, within samsara, the energy is like we are basing it on karma requirements. Okay? Today you and I are speaking. Past life, we would have such an association before. Otherwise, we won't be talking about this topic right now, today. And whichever audience, whether listening now or whether listening later, right, through the recordings, they would have had some association with both of us, right? Otherwise, we won't be brought together by this fate, by this destiny, for them to listen to this Dharma talk or this interview. Okay, so that is because we are within this samsara. Okay, within this entire 10 realms of existence, subject to karmic conditions. But when you transcend, when you go beyond, you have, the enlightenment of the Buddha stage. In Theravada Buddhism, you call it nirvana. You see Buddha at 80 years of age. He was lying down on one side, and then after that, poof, his electricity was gone, and that his body was just left there, right? His electricity may have left this body, which is like a clothing.
Yeah.
You don't need that clothing anymore. In fact, before he left, he asked Ananda, do you think that I should continue to stay? But Ananda at that time, he was so, because he knows that the Buddha is living, we are within this samsara, okay? Within this entire 10 realms of existence, subject to karmic conditions. But when you transcend, when you go beyond, you have, the enlightenment of the Buddha stage. In Theravada Buddhism, you call it nirvana. You see Buddha at 80 years of age. He was lying down on one side, and then after that, poof, his electricity was gone, and that his body was just left there, right? His electricity may have left this body, which is like a clothing.
Yeah.
You don't need that clothing anymore. In fact, before he left, he asked Ananda, do you think that I should continue to stay? But Ananda at that time, he was so, because he knows that the Buddha is living, we are within this samsara, okay? Within this entire 10 realms of existence, subject to karmic conditions. But when you transcend, when you go beyond, you have, the enlightenment of the Buddha stage. In Theravada Buddhism, you call it nirvana. You see Buddha at 80 years of age. He was lying down on one side, and then after that, poof, his electricity was gone, and that his body was just left there, right? His electricity may have left this body, which is like a clothing.
Yeah.
You don't need that clothing anymore. In fact, before he left, he asked Ananda, do you think that I should continue to stay? But Ananda at that time, he was so, because he knows that the Buddha is living, he was robes for the rituals. So done correctly, okay? I'm talking about done correctly. The rituals are also a form of meditation to sharpen your focus. So it is a form of also getting into that focus similar to meditation, where in the middle of the ritual, if you focus long enough, you can also peel off one layer of your onions. Okay, so you're worshiping. Okay, what you were talking about just now, about that kind of worshiping, like, oh, he is greater than me, oh, I have to worship him, I have to bribe him with chopsticks, with fruits offerings, flower offerings,
Yeah.
and
The,
then
the
in
theory
return
is they will help you. You give them something, they give you something back. That's the
that
theory.
is human. That is the theory that humans created, right? In ways, I can say that if this being, okay, this higher being, he has no karmic relations with you, you can see, you can worship, but he will not give you anything. But if you have a karmic relation with him that is right at this moment, you go and pray to him, and then he in different ways, he is actually also at the same time, right? At the same time, the time is right, everything is right. You worship him, and he has this debt to pay to you. So he will be granting your wishes. If you see a lot of people, you see a lot of things like, I've been praying and wishing for so long, but it doesn't happen yet. Did I pray to the wrong thing? Oh, I'm losing faith and all these things, right? But there are also those that says that, my prayers are heard. Oh God, thank this and thank that. Different kind of deities coming into the picture. You have association with them. They owe you something. They will pay you back. But if they don't owe you anything, or they owe you but the time is not right yet for them to pay you, then they will not be paying you anything. That's why your wishes don't come true, right? It is just our human superstition that we believe. Like now, why is there such a thing? There is this hierarchical system that is deeply embedded within us, right? The hierarchical system in that um, there has to be someone at the top, and then someone in the middle management, and then there's someone who are executioners. A lot of these things are actually taught to us over all these centuries that should not even be there. Can you if let's say we drag in the theory about the first existence, right? We talk about, okay, we don't talk about Buddhism, we just talk about the first humans. Is there any um, bureaucratic system that says that this should be the ruler and that should not be, that will only be an execution?
It depends on the system.
Who created the system?
These days I'm not sure whether we created it or we were influenced.
It is all because of our human ignorance, our human interpretations, that we created all kinds of things, right? In the context of the Buddha, these are these are all, as a Buddha, all these actually are nothing, right? In
Hmm.
the Diamond Sutra, okay, 金刚经, Diamond Sutra, 凡所有相皆是虚妄. Anything that has a form. So form, not just physical form. The form of the bureaucracy that we have created, the form of all the systems, all the knowledge and everything. These are all forms. Okay? 皆是虚妄. Everything is just an illusion. Okay? It doesn't exist. So being a Buddha, you have to, if you want to walk into this path as the Buddha, you want to achieve your Buddhahood, because all of us are Buddhas inside. We have to peel off our onion layers
Yeah.
to get into who we
Yes.
are, the Buddha, right? So you have to get rid of all these layers, all these mundane kind of teachings that have been taught to us over the years, over the centuries, over different lifetimes. Oh, you have to listen to this because you are this rank and this person is of this rank. But as a Buddha, you see, oh, all are actually, you and I are subjected to birth and death. You and I have not transcended. We have not become a bodhisattva. We have not become a Buddha. So we are still poor creatures that are subjected to all these things. We are still very much in the hallucination, in the illusion of this being. So we can toil the entire life without ever knowing what's the meaning of life. We can do all kinds of things without ever having the chance to get out of this, because we don't have the understanding of what this entire thing really is. Okay?
Yeah.
So this is, if we keep going on with this one, I think the 1 hour or even 2 hours is not going to get the answers for us, because ultimately, if you want to really walk into that path, right, you have to practice. You really need to practice. You let go, not in terms of, there are some people who let go. When they talk about let go, then they just quit their job, they just quit everything. No, it's not that kind of letting go. Letting go, okay, letting go in terms of you let go of your attachment. right? You continue your job, you continue with whatever you're doing, but you let go of the attachment to it, right? This will definitely need a totally separate topic altogether. So I think it's already like 10:45. I think we I don't know. I don't think we can ever end if we continue this session like that.
Sure, sure. Happy to end it here. I think it was very, very helpful, Angelina. I I think you definitely helped fill in some of the gaps that I wanted to fill in. And
Mm,
no, no. One quick question: how many from the like what the scriptures and the teachings say is there? Because you're saying that the Buddha or the prophet or and the people I've mentioned like Jesus and Buddha and a lot of other individuals that just
yeah,
travel in between dimensions, realms, different parts of the
mm,
world. Like before travel was even really designed in a way that you could travel to different parts of the world. Like before there was ways to
you
navigate.
automatically,
Yeah,
yeah, automatically get that.
yeah, and people would just these
Uh,
prophets would just show up like all across the world where
yeah,
there's no
and
airplanes or boats that know how to navigate the waters yet, but they would show up halfway across the world. Um, and
mm,
you mentioned also they would travel between realms. Are there how are these other realms explained? Like, is there simultaneously other different worlds that are happening right now with humans?
simultaneous.
Is it with humans or with
Yes,
other beings? Or
with mortals and immortals, right? Mortals as in humans, as in animals, as in things that have a physical form like us,
and then what?
right? And
How is
also
the
those that
immortal?
do not have
Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
immortal, as in our understanding, is those that do not have a physical form like us, right? And then
Okay.
there are also those that transcend the limitations of lifespan, like the Buddhas and the
Oh,
Bodhisattvas.
okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Got
there
it.
are plenty. There are a
Okay.
lot in this world system, in another world system, and our technology is not there yet for us to go to another world system. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense. Cool. Well,
Mhm.
thanks a lot for your time this morning, Angelina. I really appreciate it. Hopefully, you stay on X and Twitter.
Uh,
I deal with that stuff all the
I'm go-
time. It's pretty. I
I'm
just
going to YouTube.
okay.
I'll leave and go to YouTube. Yeah, continue with the Dharma talks. That's for sure. Mm.
Cool, cool. Well,
And
thank you
I have
for.
some personal projects as well, so that's why. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I appreciate
Okay.
your time today and sharing your knowledge over
Thank you
here.
very much.
And hopefully we can
Mm.
stay in
I'm glad that.
touch.
Yeah, I think I will give you my number later.
Sure, sure.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right. Talk to you
Okay.
soon. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay. Bye bye.
Bye.
Happy weekend.
You too.
Bye.